Welcome, everybody. I'm Rob Ence, Executive Director with the Bateman Horne Center, and thank you so much for joining today. I think this is the 5th year we've set aside this time in May to recognize and honor those who are living with ME/CFS and related illnesses and to share messages of hope with each other. I received word today that Governor Cox will be declaring May 12, 2022 ME/CFS FM Awareness Day in the state of Utah. The past 2 years have been extraordinary, and we are still living with the aftershocks of the pandemic. In the midst of what might feel overwhelming to everyone, there are opportunities of discovery and research and clinical applications that will prove vital to our foundation of knowledge. We will discuss some of these things during this hour. Our program today will include thoughts and messages from peers and colleagues, discussion on current research, clinical practice, and educational developments, and share visual connections of support. Again, we are thrilled to have you join with us. I'm going to introduce or turn the time over to Amy Cuddeback, who would love to share a piece of a poem she has written. Amy?
I am Amy Cuddeback, a mother of 2, an educator, artist, writer, and a chronic illness warrior and advocate. The poem that I'm going to share today is called Don't Irritate the Invisible Beast. I'd like to give a trigger warning, and if you need to, you can mute the sound on your speaker during the poem. Morning birds awake my unrefreshed, insomnia-laden eyes. As another day has begun, a glimmer of hope flashes through my mind. What if today the invisible beast has left my body? Will I be normal? I cautiously open one eye and then the other to see what lurks ahead. My feet hit the floor and the walls start spinning. I feel my heart race faster than a jockey on a dusty track. My body warns me that the beast is still here. A bright caution sign flashes before my eyes. Don't irritate the invisible beast. Stumbling to the loo, I notice my legs fill with a sluggish, weak jelly substance. Is a shower in my plans? Not today. The warm water may irritate the beast. Relief floods me as I look in the mirror and don't see the 90-year-old body looking back that I feel. My bed is chanting to my fatigued body, come back and be stuck with me today. My mind wants to break free from the trapped crib cell that I exist in. I close my eyes to turn down the knob of pounding in my brain. The slightest bit of light, sound, and movement will wake up the beast. It's difficult to process when someone wants to chat. I stumble trying to pull lost words from my brain. The person replies with something important. All I hear is, wah, wah, wah. Zaps of stabbing and burning throughout my body remind me to be ready for battle. I swallow some of my favorite breakfast food that has been placed on my bed tray. A luxurious, pampered dream? No. My stomach and bowels roll around in protest to the substance that should give my lethargic body energy. Once enjoyment to food, now stinky, irritable reactions. The beast attaches to my body like a parasite. When people see me on a good day, they can't see the invisible beast. I know it's still stalking me, so I cautiously use a wheelchair to take my disabled body out. Seeing the world outside my room is like climbing Mount Everest. Exciting, but oh so exhausting. I give it my all and I get demeaning glares from passers-by because they can't see the debilitating, cruel beast. I never know when the beast's grouchy presence will take my body and mind down the dark torture hole. In the hole lives bodybuilders with metal baseball bats. They viciously hit me like a whack-a-mole game. Defeated, I crash. Along comes the careless monster truck to run right over my broken body. I listen to a little soft music to distract me from the pain. I remember, whatever you do, don't irritate the invisible beast. Once he is mad, I don't know how long he'll set up camp on my body. A day or months. Oh, shoot! The beast is awake. My mind thinks of ways to evict him. My heart cries for relief. Sometimes I want to explode the beast with my fuming anger. I hate him for snatching my life from being an active person. I dream of running and hiking, and I'd gladly go to work and clean my house if I could escape the beast. On dark days, I scream in his face, "Nasty beast, why did you choose me? Please leave." I desperately reach out to my support, family, friends, and providers. Believe me, help me as I live with this beast. Please see me and encourage me to keep being the warrior that I am. Believing that the beast's temper could improve helps me live with ME and long COVID. Over time, I've learned to stop fearing the beast and stun him with kindness. Pacing will train him to chill out. Hope propels my fighting spirit forward. I am not the invisible beast. I'm still here, needed and enough. I will patiently give my body extra love and compassion as I learn to dance carefully with the invisible beast.
Thank you, Amy. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
Following up on that incredible personal message, I want to introduce our panel, Dr. Lucinda Bateman, Dr. Braden Yellman, Dr. Suzanne Vernon, and Angela Linford and Talia Rushoni, who are not doctors, but they have stayed at a Holiday Inn recently, so they probably qualify. Anyway, glad to have this group together. We want to talk a little bit about some of the events over the past year. I'm going to start right out by asking Dr. Bateman. The Bateman Horne Center made a decision last year to specifically observe and treat a group of individuals who were involved with COVID, long COVID. Let me just ask you to share a little bit about what we attempted to do there and what we have learned from this long COVID research. What implications does that have for individuals with ME/CFS and fibromyalgia?
Thank you, Rob. I'm happy to do that. We were very strategic in our decision to evaluate long COVID patients. And first and foremost, we didn't want to shift our resources away from patients with ME/CFS and related conditions, but we had a very clear view that COVID was going to leave many people sick with the post-viral syndrome. So thanks to many kind of unexpected resources, we were able to create a plan and hire 2 new providers that we trained specifically to recognize, diagnose, and stay up to date on long COVID. That not only, sorry for my dry cough, not only gave me a chance to learn vicariously about long COVID by supervising and teaching and working with our new clinicians, but it trained those clinicians in an amazing way. And their work with long COVID has prepared them completely to be able to see patients with ME/CFS, POTS, and fibromyalgia. So now they're a very critical and important part of our staff, and we've integrated long COVID patients in alongside us. And it's been a great opportunity, and I think it's going to benefit everybody.
Thank you, Dr. Bateman. Dr. Yellman or Dr. Vernon, do you have any follow-up observations about that decision for the Bateman Horne Center to take that route? Starting with Dr. Yellman.
Yeah, it's, I see the involvement with long COVID as a actual additive to all of those with ME/CFS, because really what we seem to be dealing with in most cases of long COVID, and of course there are exceptions that are specific to that virus, but what we're really seeing is the early stages of onset of ME/CFS. So we're learning about what is happening in those early stages that could be defining or or really be the start of this cascade of secondary complications and tertiary complications that become what people with longstanding ME/CFS are experiencing. So in some senses, we're learning more about the illness in ways we never have before. It was so hard to identify people early in the illness. And also it's brought national attention to ME/CFS. One of the things that we and many advocacy groups have been working on is trying to help other scientists and clinicians understand the connections between the two, and that long COVID is the COVID triggered flavor of ME/CFS, but that ME/CFS itself is where the work needs to be, that the research needs to be not specifically on the COVID virus, although that's important, of course, for acute infections, hospitalizations, et cetera, but not through a virology perspective necessarily, but from a whole multi-system illness perspective, that's where we're going to start shifting our money, our research. And also, I think it's been a fertile ground for people to start accepting others when they come in and say, I have ME/CFS. When you're in the emergency room, that people are like, oh, I've actually heard of this now, and maybe this is actually something I need to learn more about, or at least listen to my patients. So we've gotten better at that through our work with long COVID, and I think the research we've done supports the connections between those illnesses, and is really forwarding all of the work that needs to be done for those with ME/CFS, fibro, and long COVID.
Thanks, Dr. Yeoman. Dr. Vernon, your thoughts?
Here to what Dr. Yeoman just said. This is really a generational opportunity. You know, as a scientist, I'm going to put my geek hat on, and it's like, you know, how can we turn a pandemic that's just been horrific, traumatic, horrible into something positive? And really, it's just created this, hopefully for us, once in a lifetime opportunity to understand post-viral illness. As we know, so many people with ME/CFS started, their illness started with some kind of infection that they didn't recover from. And now, as Dr. Yeoman said, you know, the world's attention is now on why people are not recovering from infection with SARS-CoV-2. And that is just putting a lot of attention on Bateman Horne Center, because we're one of the handful of experts in the world that understands ME/CFS and understands post-viral illness. And I think it's just going to be an incredible opportunity to benefit not only the people that have long COVID, but our ME/CFS and fibro patients that started the same way or a similar way.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Vernon. So back to Dr. Bateman, you know, we experienced and continue to experience questions from individuals who have suffered for years and years and years with ME/CFS, and we're concerned about us turning our attention to long COVID and overshadowing potentially the needs of making progress. What would you say to these folks?
I would say that I had that fear a little bit initially in the beginning, but once we got going, it became more and more clear that this is just an increase in our own fold, and that everything we learned from long COVID research is going to help people with ME/CFS and related conditions. And that's true in spades when it comes to research and clinical care. I have just become more and more convinced of how important it is. And also the government, of course, our federal government, but also governments around the world are pouring money into research to try to understand the long-term consequences of COVID. And it is not lost on me. They're asking the very same questions that we've been asking for 30 years. And the great thing is the critical mass of people asking those questions, where they come from and how well they're funded, is now entirely different. And I will say those same people are understanding the relationship between COVID and previous post-viral syndromes, and it's heightened their awareness.
Thank you. Dr. Yeoman, Dr. Bateman mentioned the coexisting conditions. What have you learned about the role that coexisting conditions can have on an individual's disease severity.
Yeah, it's interesting even to call them coexisting conditions. I think of it as sort of different manifestations of the underlying illness and certain symptomatologies that at any time in the course of an illness tend to be the driving factor that's making all the other ones worse. And it's really where I think the art of medicine comes in for us as clinicians, is to figure out among 100 different symptoms, even breaking those down into major categories, whether it be mast cell activation, craniocervical instability, hypermobility, orthostatic intolerance, sympathetic overdrive. Even when you break those symptoms down into those categories, you can still struggle to know which one is driving any given symptom of headaches or of vertigo or pain. And so they are not in separate silos. They all interact with one another. They all make one another worse. And so somebody can present with, worsening of all of their symptoms and trying to figure out, is that because their mast cell was triggered? Is that because they're in post-exertional malaise? Is that because their sympathetic overdrive is worse? Is that because they have a slight shift in their anatomy with craniocervical instability that's making them not respond to medicines they were responding before? Trying to tie those together and think about them as a whole rather than as separate subspecialties is really the challenge we all face, and something that I think we've gotten better at, of thinking about what is driving what and how do we go for that low-hanging fruit to really improve everything. For a long time, the only tools we had were symptomatic treatments. If sleep is bad, if pain is bad, give a Band-Aid for it, right? And help improve quality of life. But I think now we're at a point where we understand why the Band-Aid is needed, and we're trying to learn how to reverse or heal those wounds in the first place. So for me, it's been incredibly exciting to practice medicine under those terms, and really then take what I've learned and try to share that with others.
Thank you. So Dr. Bateman, you've been in this arena for a long time, and you experienced things going way back to your days at Johns Hopkins and through the University of Utah. What have you seen shift in the world of clinical care and education regarding receptiveness of your colleagues?
That's interesting, because I've said many a time, I don't claim my kind, which other physicians in the field. And once we made buttons as part of our campaigns, and the button that I liked the best was a quote from me, and it said, "Infiltrate academia." And so it was very difficult to get the attention of major institutions like my alma mater, Johns Hopkins, and other places, but things have really changed. They changed over time, and it's been catapulted forward with long COVID. And I may have mentioned this previously, but I'm part of an effort outside of BHC. It's a CDC-funded monthly webinar style echo learning session for primary care physicians. And the goal, it's called Long COVID and Fatiguing Illness Recovery Program. And the goal of this is to target primary care providers with information and best practices for post-acute sequela of COVID or long COVID and myalgic encephalomyelitis chronic fatigue syndrome, or ME/CFS. And there are 20 amazing faculty members as part of this effort from institutions all over the US who previously did not have expertise in ME/CFS. I would say 75% of them who come in with their long COVID expertise, who are now experts in ME/CFS and part of this lecture series. So that's just an example of how important it is. I just wanted to say also that I got a ding in my email yesterday from Hippocrates, which is an online clinical decision tool for clinicians, and one of the most utilized online medical reference services. And it said they had an algorithm for long COVID. So I thought, yeah, well, I'll follow that and see if they even care about ME/CFS, right? I mean, there are more than 1 million subscribers for that. I looked it up on Wikipedia in 2010, and I'm sure it's at least double that now. I went through the algorithm, And the first one I came to was when I clicked on the fatigue of long COVID was a reference to ME/CFS saying with all the case definition and describing post-exertional malaise. And the whole tool included an integrative discussion of other post-viral syndromes, including ME/CFS.
So you're saying there's a chance?
There's a change, a big change.
That's awesome. And I love the phrase, infiltrate academia. We are committed to doing that. And as you'll hear in this ongoing conversation, we're making great strides in provider education. But before we leave that, another arena that has to be infiltrated in funding and practice is research. And Cindy, you talked a little bit about the Recover concept and program. Let me ask Dr. Vernon to just weigh in for a few minutes about what she sees on the horizon in current, what we're doing, and in other places, what we hope to be able to accomplish related to research in the future.
So I think that was, you wanted me to talk a little bit about Recover?
Yeah, just to continue that conversation, and then what other things would you hope to see in play?
So Recover is an initiative that was being spearheaded by the National Institutes of Health. And there are several hundred scientists and tens of centers involved in the whole design. It's really called a collaborative design to the whole Recover initiative. And included in that design are also patients. And then patients, there will be tens of thousands of patients enrolled in Recover. And the whole basis for the Recover initiative is to learn about the long-term effects of COVID. Why do some people get better? Why do some people not get better? And what can be done through the whole course of that disease. And I mean, it's been really quite a stunning effort that was started last year, and enrollment is now underway, and it'll go on for 5 years. So it is essentially and probably beyond, it is a study that is really trying to understand the natural course of disease, the natural course of recovery or not recovering following infection. So it's I think very, very important. There's already been additional funding put into the initiative for additional types of research that was put out to the broader research community, not just those that are involved in Recover. And they recently also just put out additional funding for treatment trials, which they intend to get started. This is ambitious, in the 3rd or 4th quarter of this year. So it's really just, it's just mind-boggling how fast everything is moving. We are part of the Bateman Horne Center is part of the Recover initiative. We are a recruiting center for the Mountain States Pass Consortium, which is led by the University of Utah, Dr. Rachel Hess, and the University of Colorado, and the University of New Mexico, and Intermountain Health. So it's a very large consortium, which falls under the Mountain States Pass Consortium. And we are working in the adult cohort. There's also pediatric, I should say, pediatric and a pregnancy cohort that's part of the Mountain States Pass Consortium. And we've also, we are in the process of submitting clinical trials to the Recover initiative, which I think is very exciting, as well as very specific research projects that are looking at genetics and trying to understand genetic factors associated with long COVID and not recovering.
Thank you for that insight. I'm going to jump right now and talk a little bit with Talia Ruscione about our education program. And so Talia, a little bit about what has changed and where we're headed with our provider education.
I've been with Bateman Horne for, is this my third year? No, 2 years now, maybe 3. I can't do math. And so much has changed in that short period of time. And I do think that in large part, the pandemic has certainly helped us create a platform where it's hard to dismiss post-viral education and the need of providers, no matter what specialty or care field they are in, to understand that and be able to meet patients where they're at. And really, it's just taking the blueprint of what we know with ME/CFS and teaching providers that they are seeing this, that they have been seeing this, and trying to meet them in their field where they're at and seeing patients, and giving them the tools to be able to do that effectively. This next year, well, this year in particular, we've gained a ton of momentum. So all the seeds that we've been planting for the last couple of years are really starting to take off, with a lot of different medical education programs, continuing medical education, using institutions and academia to really launch that platform and reach more providers. As you guys have probably seen by now, we're becoming, we're kind of transitioning into becoming more of a training center as well. We have residents coming through and fellows. And I think that each one of those people reach, no matter how small or large, is an opportunity and synapse for change. So I think we're really starting to take off.
Thanks, Talia. And lest you forget, you're on just about to your 3rd anniversary in June of 2019. And you and Angela are 2 of the greatest asset hires we've had in forever. I mean, you've done an amazing job in those 3 years, and we deeply appreciate it. One of the things that you recently launched, specifically to assist providers, but also our patients and our friends in the community, was your crash survival guide. Talk a little bit about the feedback on that, and what was your inspiration for that?
Well, I think ME/CFS, fibromyalgia, long COVID, all of these chronic illnesses have their own monster, as Amy so poetically, shared with us today. And the biggest struggle that I see with patients with ME/CFS and long COVID is that PEM, that push crash cycle. And I think most of you know by now that my sister was my inspiration for this. And then I just watched her in this constant tug of war. And every time she would crash, she would just get sicker and sicker. And I think I kept stepping back and saying, what is the one thing that if patients could gain some control back from this disease, what would it be? And it would be controlling that push crash cycle and trying to stay out of PEM. So myself and a wonderful, amazing group of interdisciplinary professionals joined me in creating this guidebook, which really just kind of takes patients and hopefully their care partner, as well as providers, through different aspects of staying out of PEM, really understanding what that is, and trying to implement some of those changes. I think one of the biggest things that we can do as a center is give both patients and providers and their care partners tools to help support them in their care.
Thank you, Talia. We've got some exciting things on the horizon. Individuals who are on this call who have been great partners in helping us move some of this education forward, and partners yet to be announced that helping us really unfold some new horizons and great advancements in provider education. And we appreciate all you've done with that. Angela, who is our communications director, plays a pivotal role in helping communicate all that we learn in our clinic, in our research, and to promote the things that will help individuals understand where to get information and how important it is for providers to grasp this, as well as our donor base. So Angela, talk a little bit about your communication and marketing role in moving our mission forward, and what you're doing to help increase overall awareness.
Thanks, Rob. So I'm fortunate that, as you know, we have some really great educational materials that are developed and content that we have. And so then my challenge is to disseminate that to as many people as we possibly can. And, but, you know, we're a nonprofit, and so we're on a budget. So it's a matter of leveraging and figuring out how to spread that information through social media, through professional organizations, through any kind of networking that we can do. And of course, all of you on here are a big part of that, because you get the information and you take it and you share it with other people. And in that way, it just continues to grow and grow and grow. And we're really grateful that individuals and providers from all over the world access our education. And we want to, one of the things that we're looking at doing is providing more translations for some of this work for patients in other countries, and making things more accessible for the members of our community who struggle to, or who are unable to look at screens or videos or view things that way. So that's something that I have a challenge for myself to do, is to figure out a way to disseminate that, to make it more accessible for everyone that we possibly can within our community. And, oh yeah, so we've got a question in here, how can we access the manual? I was going to mention that. So the MECFS crash guide, it is on our website, which is batemanhorncenter.org. And right on the home page, there's at the top, in red, you'll see the word new, and then it says, I think it says new guidebook, and click on that, and that'll take you to the guidebook. And Talia put the link in the chat. And then I also want to call out that hopefully you've all received the email that Dr. Bateman is speaking at a provider education event tomorrow. It's one of the ones that she talked about, the one that's funded by the CDC. And it's open to the public, these monthly sessions, and they've asked her to speak in honor of Awareness Day. So that'll be at 1 o'clock Mountain Time, and it's on our website, on our event calendar, and hopefully you've gotten the email reminders for that. So thanks, Rob.
Thank you, Angela, for all you do. So in the last minute or two of the panel time, I just want to ask the entire panel if anyone has any other ahas to your respective work that surfaced for you in this past year that we haven't touched on.
I don't think so. There's a lot. I'm really, I've tried to move through the overwhelmed stage to the embrace the new challenges stage.
I think that, I mean, the biggest aha for me is like just the incredible attention that and awareness that the pandemic is bringing to the diseases that we've been studying and trying to help people with our entire careers. And it's just been mind-blowing.
Thank you. And thank you
And I
to
would
the
just
panel for your
like-
insights. Was there somebody else? I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's the chatty one. I just wanted to conclude by saying that, you know, each one of you guys play a huge role in the work that we do, not just from the communication aspect, but we learn from you every day. And hearing from you and the research that you engage in, the clinical care, the education, everything, we learn that from you. So you are just as much a part of this as we are.
Thanks, Talia. Dr. Bateman started a tradition years ago with great pride to introduce as many people as she could, providers who were at, you know, potentially individuals going on to medical school or PA school or NP school, or anytime somebody wanted to come down and shadow and learn from the clinic. And we have tried to really amplify that those opportunities in the recent months. And most recently, we had Dr. Stephanie Grach, who is a resident from the Mayo Clinic, come and spend a month with us at the Bateman Horne Center. And she just wrapped her tenure there up last week, and we debriefed with her today. And she has recorded a very specific message for this group, and I'm going to have Talia just run that for you now.
Hi, everyone. My name is Stephanie Grach, and by the time you're watching this, I'll have recently completed a month-long rotation at the Bateman Horne Center. I am a current third-year internal medicine resident at the Mayo Clinic School of Graduate Medical Education and will be an attending physician in Mayo Clinic's Division of General Internal Medicine, where I plan to practice in our fibromyalgia, POTS, ME, CFS, and long COVID clinics. A lot of people ask how I got interested in ME and complex chronic illness. Essentially, I've seen how patients with unexplained syndromes are handled in the medical system, and it never sat well with me. So when I started at Mayo and my attending physician helped me approach my patient with fibromyalgia with as much ease as, say, high blood pressure, I was excited. And the attending was actually from the Division of General Internal Medicine, which housed the fibromyalgia clinic. And so as a second year, I arranged an elective month in the General Internal Medicine Division, where I was then introduced to patients with POTS and ME/CFS as well. And well, that was that. It didn't take long for me to get involved from the research side as well. But I also watched documentaries, learned the history, and read the experiences of patients on social media. And ultimately, I became dedicated not just because it was an interesting clinical and research focus, but because it felt like the right thing to do. And I wondered what I could really offer in my current position as a resident. But then I talked with my amazingly receptive co-residents and providers across specialties, and I was able to give lectures about fibromyalgia and later on long COVID. And it became clear that I had a voice that was still powerful. And I think that's because I'm a provider, and every provider who understands is someone with colleagues who can learn from them. And every colleague who learns is another provider who can help diagnose a patient or at least assure them that they're not alone. And because every healthcare worker has the potential to make that difference for tens, hundreds, maybe thousands of patients over the course of their practice, that means fewer people are left in this massive diagnostic void. And so I feel so honored to be able to use my voice, not only for raising awareness in my field, but also because of BHC today, to give hope that good things are happening. I am so thankful to my current program's leadership for encouraging me to keep learning in hopes of continually improving ourselves, as will undoubtedly be the result of my time spent with the Bateman Horne Center. And to everyone here, thank you for being the voices that will keep me doing the best I can in the times to come.
She was amazing. She was very well prepared, very committed, and she is going to make a big difference in this world in the future. One of the opportunities we have as we go through the challenges, particularly as we've experienced the pandemic, is to meet individuals, not only as patients, but who are incredible advocates for a cause. Such persons, Lisa O'Brien. Lisa is the founder of the Utah Long Haulers Group and a long COVID advocate. And I'd like to turn the time over to her for a few minutes for a message.
Thank you, Rob, and thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to share my thoughts again at this important event. My name is Lisa O'Brien. Like Rob mentioned, I run the Utah COVID-19 Long Haulers Group that I started almost 2 years ago, and we now have over 4,400 members who are dealing with the long-term effects of COVID. And we've become a place for people to find resources, educate themselves, and just know that they aren't alone, which comes with great comfort for anyone dealing with a chronic illness. For those who don't know my story, I got sick in March of 2020, the same week the country began to shut down. I had a mild case of COVID, which would not have led anyone to predict the aftermath that would follow. And by May, my autonomic nervous system started to malfunction with erratic heart rates, internal vibrations, and body aches that I couldn't escape from. Many nights I forced myself to stay awake because I couldn't bear to go through what sleep would bring. Adrenaline rushes that would make my heart rate soar, or brain zaps that woke me up every 5 minutes. Through that first year, I was mostly bedbound, and there were many scary nights where I seriously contemplated sleeping in my car in the ER parking lot because I no longer felt safe in my own body. And I knew there was far more going on than the anxiety diagnosis that my doctors wanted to throw at me. I had never heard of ME/CFS, fibromyalgia, or any of the other post-viral syndromes that many with long COVID are now ending up with. And unfortunately for me, neither had anyone else that I encountered. It took me a year to finally find a doctor who could properly diagnose me. And I know that I'm super lucky in that way. And I'm so fortunate that I've been able to work with the Bateman Horne Center. While I've improved greatly over the last couple of years, I've never been the same as I was before I got COVID. So much has happened in the last year in terms of recognition and research as we've continued to fight. And just in the last several months, new legislation has been introduced asking for increased research funding, education, and better care that would benefit all of those dealing with similar post-viral conditions. Myself and fellow advocates continue to bring ME and related conditions to the forefront to make sure that your voices are being heard, because we understand the advantages that we have in what has already been learned about ME and the value that we will all gain from the answers that we have yet to learn from long COVID. To end, I want to express my continued gratitude today to the ME, FM, and chronic illness communities. Thank you for your insights that have helped so many of us adjust to our new realities. And while we still don't have all the answers, what I do know is this: COVID really has created incredible opportunities, ones that researchers could only ever dream of, opportunities that are going to allow us to utilize what has already been learned and use COVID as a catalyst to fill in the blanks, to expand our knowledge, and to find the answers that have eluded ME and other chronic illness communities for way too long. There's far more hope and greater strength when we stand together, and I look forward to our continued partnerships. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. And thank you for all those who've participated so far. I'm going to hand the baton to Angela, who is going to navigate us through the rest of the program. Angela?
Okay, thanks, Rob. So many of you responded to our request of expressions of hope to send in. And then that's in order for us to create a video montage. We did this last year and again this year. And I have to say that we've been overwhelmed at just how great this community is and the messages that are in here. I do want to say that we also received several poems, which we're really grateful for. 2 of them are up on our blog live right now, and then the others I'm going to release them intermittently over the next couple of weeks so that each one can have its due time. So with that said, let's go ahead and watch this video of Messages of Hope. Okay. I hope you guys all enjoyed that as much as we've been enjoying putting it together. Thank you. So RuthAnn's going to read a poem for us.
Despite decades of sickness, I'm still me. I'm still of worth, better because of ME. More loving, empathetic, patient, and kind, in spite of losing some of my mind. Stuck at home, but not in the mud. I get back up in spite of the crud. There are lives to bless, differences to make. Though often in bed, I'll never break. Can't do very much, but it's made me more, richer in value with great things in store. It's always darkest before the light. I hang on tightly, the dawn's always bright. Limitations seem endless, but it's never the end. I keep looking for healing and hope to mend. There are so many things I can no longer do, but I treasure the things not so clearly in view. People, love, truth, and much more. Always learning, I can still rise and soar. Discouraged at times and frustrated too, but never so much that I can't get through. Always look up, it's brighter than down, even tired in bed in my old nightgown. Though I often can't do things, undaunted I am. I still count my blessings and ignore the slam. I focus not on what I can't do, but the value you have, the you that is you. Lots of downtime, hobbies are few, but always learning things that are new. I'm trapped in a body that can't do much, but my potential is great, tight in my clutch. There's always tomorrow with hope burning bright, in spite of my now painful, limited flight. Never give up, never give in. There's always a way if I go for the win. On bad days I learn, the few good ones I live, grateful to grow, to share, and to give. Even though it's small, it still matters lots to let others know they're in my thoughts. Conversations are hard, focus is poor. Sounds and stimuli hurt to the core. But I'm thankful each day and find the joy, ignoring the pains and things that annoy. My time can be shared, my insights too. There's always something good I can do. Though at times there are often many tears, they release emotions pent up for years. They cleanse, renew, and give me new hope, strengthen resolve, and help me to cope. I may be sick, I may be down, but that doesn't mean I must always frown. I've come close many times to ending it all, especially when I could barely crawl. But that's not life. That way's ugly and dark, far, far away from my true benchmark. Life can be good when I make it that way. The longer I work at it, the more it stays. It's what we make it, we decide. Choose thanks, joy, and goodness to be our guide. Life has much purpose, it can be grand, even when most activity is banned. Choose thoughts wisely, for they become real. Always seek goodness so we can heal. Give it our best, even though it seems small. To someone else, we can be their all. Small acts of service help all involved, despite the problems that remain unsolved. Beauty surrounds us, waiting to be found. Good can be ours and can richly abound. We are the masters of our fate. Life can be awful, or it can be great. With love and empathy to all who battle ME, CFS, fibromyalgia, and other invisible illnesses.
Thank you so much, RuthAnn. I hope you get a chance to look in the chat and see all the messages of gratitude and support.
Thanks.
And here's the image, that the picture. So Jessica, do you want to just tell us quickly about this?
Okay, so as I was saying, I'm often the comic relief on the BHC board, and so we put this caption. It says, "The ME monster abducted mommy," and I was doing it kind of imagining it being like a newspaper headline, And it would say, we recently caught the ME culprit on the camera, abducting people from their regular lives. Anyone with information, please contact Millions Missing or Bateman Horne Center. He must be stopped. So that was me and the kids and my husband Jay having a little fun with our Millions Missing shirts this year.
That is so good. It's great, Jessica. Thank
That
you.
alien just snagged me right up, you know?
It really did. It really did. Thank you.
Mhm.
So I'm going to turn the time over to Talia. She has something to share with us.
So I think it goes without saying that one of the most challenging aspects of living with chronic illness, ME, CFS, fibro, and long COVID in particular, are that it's really, really hard to quantify impairment and impact that the disease has on you. Dr. Bateman has for years used the form that we're about to release with her patients as a part of the intake. We call it a good day, bad day questionnaire. And the idea behind it is it helps the patient to go through and think about the hours of upright activity that they encounter in a day on both a good, and when we say good, we mean better, because with chronic illness, there's never a good or a great day, but you might have a better day, a more functional day, versus that of a bad day or a worsened illness day. So when you look at the handout that we've created, it's going to break it down into thinking of the time with feet spent on the floor. That includes sitting with feet spent on the floor, standing and walking, as opposed to time with your legs elevated or being supine. And then that also takes you through the thought process of activities that you're able to do on a good day and activities that you are still unable to do even on a good day. And then the reverse of that is, what can you still do even on a bad day, and what can you absolutely not do? And by that we mean everything from activities of daily living to cognitive processing, physical activity, anything like that. And the idea is that this helps you kind of frame for your provider when you take this to them what you go through. It's a very nice screenshot of what you experience. So I am showing you our website because I want to show you where it's at. As Angela had mentioned, here's where the ME/CFS guidebook is. You can also find the guidebook and this resource in our education section. I put everything that I really, really like in our top resources. It's also in management and a couple other spots on the website, but so I don't confuse you, we're just going to go to top resources. And then down here under helpful patient resources, we have the good bad day questionnaire. And we've made this where you can just download it. And then when you download it, you can just type right in it and then print that off and bring it to your provider. It's also a nice way to kind of catalog, even as you're going through maybe a care plan with your provider. Are things working? Are you getting better? Even on a good day with interventions, where are you at? And again, this really just takes you through hours of upright activity and tasks that you are able to complete and not able to complete on both a better illness or a worsened illness day. So this is available to you guys. I'm going to put this direct link in the chat box now so you have access to it. But again, it's on our website under top resources, education top resources, or education management. I also have this peppered throughout the provider pages too. Dr. Bateman, do you want to close this out?
Yep, if I can figure out how to unmute. What we'd like to do as we close is we'd like to share the BHC staff to share our messages of hope with you.